Hey guys, Mark with Think Insurance, and today we're going to talk about how jewelry affects your home policy. So there's a couple ways that you can get insurance on jewelry on your home. It automatically comes with coverage on your home, but there's usually not enough. If you just have a couple things here and there and nothing really values over $500 or even $1,000, you're probably okay as long as your total amount of jewelry doesn't exceed the limit that your policy sets. Normally it's $1,500 max, and it's usually $1,000 per item. Now, I can't tell you what yours is because I can't see your policy, but I would say 6 to 7 out of 10 times, that's probably what it is. So for example, the ring that I have on here is about $500. But let's say it was super decked out and it was diamond plated and platinum and all that great stuff, and it was $13,000 ring. I just like the bling. In that case, my wife's ring is going to be 10 times that, so she's got a $30,000 ring sitting in her hand, which is completely false, but let's just pretend. And in this case, let's say that we want to insure those properly. Well, there's a couple different ways that we can do this. So if we already have home insurance, that's the best. We could go to the jeweler and have them insure it, which is an option. You can check with them and see that. The parts that you want to make sure that they give you is theft and loss of the item. Because on your home policy, if you lose your item, whether it's in the house or on a vacation trip, that's a piece that typically is covered. So in insurance, even if you're on a trip or a vacation, you're typically going to have your jewelry covered no matter what happens. If it's lost, stolen, you come in your room and all of a sudden somebody rifled through your bags and it's gone. And now you've got coverage. You're happy and good. I don't know, and I can't speak to the jewelry side because I don't know what the jewelers do. So if that's an option, that's great. In all honesty, your agent doesn't really care which route you go as long as it's the best route for you. It's not going to affect the home policy in a major way unless you have a lot of items. I personally have had some customers that have had 50,000 or more individual items listed on their insurance. So let's go through it a little bit. I had to take a quick sip of coffee here. I'm actually doing this at night, even though this caffeine's gonna make me up for a while. If you guys are interested and you're getting good value out of this, smash the like button, by the way. There is an option to buy me a cup of coffee, or if you need a quote, that's also down there below. Feel free to check those out. I appreciate any support that you guys give. So let's go back to this ring and say we have the small amount, and we have 10 of these for some reason. It's a $10,000 ring or a $13,000 ring, and I've got a couple of them. Let's say we have 30,000 total. You can do what's called a blanket endorsement. It's also called a rider. Those are similar and the same thing, but it's a jewelry endorsement. So my policy might have $1,500 coverage jewelry, but I may also buy what they call a plus package or a platinum or whatever the name of the company is calling it. Everybody calls it different, but each company has different levels of additionals. And typically your agent will sell you those with the policy. Even if they're saving you money, they're gonna try to give you that because it gives you a lot of other stuff. It usually gives you like water backup and extra percentage if your house burns down to the ground, like 25% or even 50%. Sometimes it allows you to get a cash out where you can walk away from the house. You still own the property and you gotta sell it, but you still get the house cash value instead of having them rebuild it. There's a lot of options that different companies offer, but in addition, it typically increases the amount of jewelry. In most cases, you're gonna get an additional $2,500 worth of jewelry, and it's usually not enough in this case. So in this case, I'm gonna wanna do what's called a blanket coverage. It's no different than thinking of when you go to bed, you pull the blanket over you and everything underneath the blanket is covered. Same thing with jewelry. We're just naming the jewelry as the item and we're pulling the blanket over it. Anything that it covers, it's completely covered. So there's no specific limit to this ring or the next ring or another ring, or if I buy one in a week. It doesn't care. It just knows that whatever the limit I set, which I'm probably gonna set at 35,000, it's covered. Now, keep in mind, that's not always the case per item. Those still have limits. So you may still only have a $1,500 limit per item. So be careful when you're looking at those blanket options that there isn't a per item limit. If there is, then you're gonna have to go the second route. And that route is to do what's called an endorsement individual scheduled item. So an individual scheduled jewelry item where you have to get the item appraised. It's no different than having a painting, a special item, the autograph from Babe Ruth. It has to be authenticated. And the only place to get that authenticated is from the jeweler. That jeweler is going to be able to give you that slip or that piece of paper that says, yep, this is 100% 4-carat diamond. This has this white gold with 14 da 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 da. It's 2 point this, and it's got a cut and a round and and it's up and it's down and there's diamonds here and there's diamonds on the side, and it describes it to the point, to the type of gold, the piece that it is, the exact item. It's a little bit of a pain if you have a lot of items, but it's the only way to surely cover it correctly. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go to the jeweler, we're gonna hand them our items, and they're gonna list it, they're gonna describe it, because your agent needs that description. They're gonna get copies of that, and then they're gonna stamp it with their stamp of approval with a value. And every 3 years, because as the Babe Ruth painting was $500,000 one year, it was $800,000 another year. And you got to really determine each year is different. So you can't come back to the insurance and say, well, it was worth $20,000, but I only insured it for 10. I really want the 20. Tough. You only got the 10 because that was the appraisal that you gave them. You're going to have to get it reappraised if you want to have that higher value, or if it lowers, then you're going to save some money in the insurance because you can lower the cost of that item. Essentially, those are the only steps that you have to take. So 1, determine which route you're going to go, and 2, determine what the per item deductible is depending what you have. I have a few customers that are willing to take that risk because they may have $20,000 worth of a blanket coverage, but they know that the limit is $2,500 in our case. They have some items that are worth $4,000. They're just gonna cop out that loss and say, you know what, I gambled. If I lost that item, I'll get the $2,500, but I'll lose the additional $1,500 that I would have gotten. And it's just a risk I'm willing to take because I've never had the problem and I can afford to pay that if I have to. Essentially, they're covering the long term, the big loss in case somebody broke in and stole all of it. Now they're gonna get that total blanket item of $30,000 or whatever the case is, and they're gonna be covered in those situations, minus the per item difference between what they have limited and what they get. Just be careful, you know what your risks are and what you're willing to take. Those are essentially going to give you the options that you have to go either blanket or scheduled items. I hope this was really helpful. If you guys did get good value out of this, there's plenty more on this channel. Feel free to peruse through the videos. Don't forget to hit the like to help the algorithm to make me a superstar. I don't know. But I would like it if you subscribed. If you do, turn the bell icon on so that you get notifications of future videos. I'm Mark with Think Insurance. I'll see you in the next one.